Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Wi-Fi chats, the Wise-Mind Fireside Chats. And today we are on episode number 16. And what I thought would be a lovely conversation today is just having a bit of thought about how much does our competition thinking we have holding us back from building actually real friendships, to have community, and actually makes us feel lonely. And the reason why I came up with this was our chats in episode 14 and 15, where we talked about clarity in communication, where we talked about hearing what other people think about us, and having other people come in and talk to us about what's important to them. Because competition thinking is installed so early in us, right? In school, it's all about marks. Who is the best? Who is the popular kid? Who is this? Then we go into careers. Who is climbing the ladder? We start comparing. We feel we're not good enough because the other person is better. People don't really say what's going on to them. They don't have the deep conversations because you have to look perfect. You look perfect on Facebook, meaning if we get a fear of something, or we get nervous, or there's something going on for us, or we even feel down, we feel we can't voice it because what do other people think of us, because we are always only the only person with that problem, right? That's kind of the thinking, not knowing that about another 10 people in the office feel the same, because we don't talk, because everybody needs to be perfect. We compare, and it's all about competition. Who gets on top? Who is better? And it even comes into our private life, right? Who makes the gym every morning? Who jogs the longest? Who jogs the quickest? And we work even there on getting better and running that jogging route in the morning 5 seconds quicker and all that. So that's my thought, and I just would like to open it up.
I think you hit the nail on the head there with comparison, because there's that saying, isn't there, that comparison is a thief of joy, and it is through comparison that we start to set these competitive goals, whether it be the nicer car, the trophy wife, the toy boy, whatever it is, that these desires that come upon us that create separateness, and conflict within our personal identity. It's from a comparison, which is also probably driven by marketing. I think you're spot on. It doesn't help that as children, rather than being recognized for a thing that we did, it's compare it to, oh yeah, that's good, but what about this? How about just taking a moment and allowing, particularly a child, just to enjoy the thing that they created, with no comparison, with no expectation that it improve, be better next time or what have you, because they'll get enough of that from absolutely everywhere else. So for me, comparison leads to competition, and both lead to one of those traps that we've discussed before.
I'm sitting here absorbing all of this. And when Gaby first brought this up, competition, I am super competitive by nature, right? Like, it is part of the very fiber of my being an athlete my whole life. I've always been competitive, but against myself, right? So I feel like there's a slight difference between having competition between everybody else and needing to be better than everybody else just because, and having a competitive nature and wanting to compete at your optimal ability, right? Having said that, being on two sides here, I can go two different ways with the way I see competition in how it's in our culture now, being very destructive for certain demographics. So we have kids like you said, Gabby, we learn at a very young age. So school, who's got the best grades, who's the best athlete, the best. So we have our school systems that are really making it a culture of everybody's got to be the best, rise to be the best. They're all competing against each other to get the best, without any look at what are you actually doing to get there. Like Alex said, what tools are you using? How resilient are you? All of these character building things that you need to become good at your skill. These kids are just competing against each other because they want to be the best. The problem is when they're not the best, because inevitably you're not going to be the best. There's always going to be somebody that's a little better than you. And when you go out into the big wide world, that's when you're going to see it. They have no idea how to cope with that because the reasons for being the best are not their own. They're not competing with themselves to just do the best that they can. They just need to be the best. So it's really can be very detrimental to them. And then they don't know how to cope with any of it when they don't succeed. Then I see a whole nother demographic of women in general. There is a definite, I don't want to say epidemic, but there's a big problem, pervasive problem in our culture amongst women themselves that compete against each other. We don't have a group of women that are all supporting each other to raise each other up. You have women that are separated, even just in the mom realm. You got moms that go to work that compete against moms that stay home, and they will go to war with each other over who is the better mom. When in fact, we should just be looking at, we're just all moms. How come we can't just all support each other from the view of being a mom? We all hurt the same. We all worry the same. So why can't we support each other the same? Why are we competing around this? Nobody's the best mom. We're each the best mom to our own kids. How about we just do that? That's all I have to say right now.
Well, yeah, but even within that, the competition to be the best mum kind of suggests that there's an ignoring of the children. In order to be the best mum, I will do this, that, and the other. Are you actually doing the things that your child needs? We've all heard of these parents that get so involved in their children's lives that they start arguments with teachers, with sports coaches, with because they think they know best. And the kids kind of just watching, absorbing all this, what's being modeled for them. And again, as you say, it's detrimental. It doesn't do any of the things that we so often talk about in terms of modeling maturity and character and self-awareness. But I guarantee at some point, one of those kids will be sitting there thinking, I don't want to be like this when I grow up. And who do they have to model what that different will be?
It's interesting because, Gabby, you started this with how much does this competitive thinking, influence our inability to connect or our feeling of loneliness. And even in just that example among moms, how many moms are out there feeling like they're failing as a mother because they're being held to compete against, like, okay, so I can't get, I don't have the time to bake 8 dozen cupcakes for my kids' class. Does that mean that I'm a shitty mom? No, that means that I'm a busy mom who's not able to do it. I don't love my kid any less, but that mom may be feeling like a failure and has nobody to talk to because there's fear of judgment, fear of, sounding whatever, like, and being held to, well, you're choosing to work kind of thing. So, we got a lot of lonely women in the world that are feeling less than because there's all of these requirements to be considered the best at something.
Yeah, it's the comparison. You mentioned it all a few times. The comparison, the almost like having an image, isn't it? The image what you think makes you look really good, because we can't have flaws. And it starts with I think I mentioned that before. It starts with little things like in school, you can get 85% right in a test. The only thing which the teacher concentrates on are the 15% you didn't get, right? With the little red marker. Oh, here's your 15% you didn't get, right? I don't care you got 85% right. Here, there's your imperfection. And this is, I think, where we fall into the trap long term, because if we concentrate on that and we're trying to portray, look, I am perfect, I'm doing great, our self-worth comes out of that. And if we tie our self-worth to that, of course, we cannot have deep connections with people admitting, you know what, I'm really struggling here. I'm not perfect here. And the minute we do that, we cannot build deep connections. We cannot build friendships. We cannot build a community around us to help us actually through those hard times. We talk nowadays about resilience, being resilient when the hardships come. You know what? You don't need that much resilience if you have 10 good friends around you or in a family and support you. But for that, you need these deep connections and you need this honesty. And Brett, you talked about it in another video around it. This friendships where you feel safe, where you can talk to people and open up to them and don't feel judged because you're not perfect. You don't get those 15% right.
Mm-hmm. I think it's important. There's nothing wrong, in my view, with a little healthy competition. Competition is there for a reason, and it's usually used, when used properly, as a way to strive to just better yourself a little bit at a time, right? Like to do the best you can. It doesn't equate to being perfect. Being competitive should not mean I have to be perfect in what I'm doing, right? And I think that there's a clarifier that needs to come in there. A little healthy competition amongst yourself, amongst friends, in a game or whatever it is that you're playing, keeps people doing their best, right? Which is really like, what's the point of doing anything if you're not going to try to do your best? Doesn't mean that you have to do it the best or perfectly. It's just doing your best. And I think that healthy competition is important for a well-lived life. Otherwise, we're just sort of aimlessly, I don't care how I did on this, but striking out the I need to be perfect at this and the best at all costs is definitely where we go wrong there.
In competition, if you look at it, is just showing you where you can grow, spots where you can grow. So when you get the 85% on something, right, those are the areas that 15% that we focus on. The message is that we're not doing good, but if the message was maybe shifted to, look, this is the part that we can grow on. If you grow on that, then there it is. And that's competition. That's everything, right? If you're not strong in this one area and you work on building that aspect of you, right? And that's up to you to do. Nobody can make you do it. It's a want that you would have. So that's the growing piece. It's how we perceive the competition and our shortcomings or our failures, right? They're only places that need to be strengthened in order to be that much stronger in the next competition in that same role, right? Or you look at the 85% and you say, oh, I'm going to compete there because I got all that, right? So maybe you're not in the right area. Maybe you don't have to grow that 15%. Maybe this area, you have everything. It's just where we are and what we're looking to grow in, that those things that we judge as failures is just really the areas that we can focus on for our self-growth if we want to be in that specific spot that we're striving for. So be careful of where you want to strive and where you want to be, because if it's not a positive place, then you may be very successful, in a very negative place. So keep, the mind and the focus clear in the direction and what you want to grow. So grow on the positive, grow on the strength piece, grow on my weakness here could actually become, making all of this stronger. It's our perception, I think, the viewing of it.
I think in the healthy sense of the word, competition, right? I mean, well, I don't know about the rest of you, but I instantly am thinking sports when I hear the word competition. It's usually used mostly in that arena. In the healthy sense of the word, you don't know where you need to practice or to increase your skills if you don't compete. Like, you have to compete in order to know where there is room for you to grow. So competition in the healthy sense, I don't necessarily think is a negative thing. It keeps us striving to be better than we were the day before, which is really my motto, right? Constant improve, just constantly a little bit better than who I was yesterday.
I like the take. So it's not competition as such, which is a problem. It's the approach we take to it. So competition can mean we can grow. It can mean that we come together. Maybe sports is a beautiful example where we can come together as a team to help the other person up, where we celebrate our successes. And we use competition to further us in our growth and in goals. Right? That's the one way to see it, compared to what happens a lot where competition becomes attached to jealousy. Oh, they're doing better than me. When I hear competition, even though I did sports as a child, competition for me nowadays probably is more attached to the corporate world, where people literally will backstab and lie and do whatever it needs to get on the next ladder of the career, competing against the other colleagues rather than helping each other out. So there is this, again, it's a mindset issue, how we see competition. Do we see it as something healthy where we can grow better ourselves, or is it something where we compete against other people, compare, strive for perfections, put on a mask so people don't see our flaws, right? You mentioned failure, where we see if we don't get it, it's a failure. That's very, very different thought than, oh, okay, I can grow in this. Oh no, I failed, because that means we perceive it, I failed at the whole task, even the 85% I got. I failed at the whole thing, right? So it's very much a mindset, how we see it and what we attach to it.
I think it comes down to conditioning, and we can be conditioned in a way that, let's stick with sports slightly, that it's fine to engage in activities with others and see who can throw the furthest, run the longest, all those sorts of things. But within the conditioning, what we're missing, and the question at the outset was, does competition thinking impact our ability to connect? And I think the answer has to be yes, because if you're competitive, it kinds of sets them up as the others, got to be better than the others, wealthier than the others. So I think there's definitely a place to have competition. I don't agree, like with school sports days, where everybody, just because you turned up, you get a little medal or a sticker or whatever. No, there is no value in that, to my mind, personally. But the conditioning has to be, yes, go out there, but cheer the other people on. If you happen to be the first person across the line, turn around and cheer for the others, or support other people in a way, so that there is this constant conditioning of connect to other people. And if you are the best at something, help somebody else to be better in the way that serves them the most.
Yeah. Sticking with the sports example, I think a good one of the two different mindsets is probably, it just comes to mind when you looked at the Olympics, the American gymnastic teams, the girls seemed to be very connected, very supportive of each other. They were celebrating each other's successes. When one was performing, the others were sitting there literally rooting for them and going to every move they were doing to almost like cheer them on. Very different when you think back, was it in the 90s or remember the two American ice skating
Yeah.
ladies where one even went out of the
Oh
way to
yeah.
get one kneecap to get
Oh
rid of her
yes.
in the competition, right? And I think that's the two different mindsets we're talking about, because staying with that example, one builds friendship connections for life until they're old ladies. The other one just builds resentments, hate, jealousy, everything negative attached with it. So again, it's not that the one thing, the competition is bad, it's the mindset and how we interpret it, which leads to the result and the outcome.
I think like anything else, if we're looking outward, this is the problem, right? Like, so if I'm being competitive because I need to be better than you, that's a problem. But if I'm looking in, I'm being competitive because I want to be better than I was the day before to get to the highest state that I can be, then that's healthy for me. In my perspective, that's healthy. If that happens to me, that I happen to be the top of that skill, so be it. But I'm not getting there. I'm not trying to attain that spotlight because I need to be better than you. It's got nothing to do with you. It has to do with me and how I want to, what I want to achieve, you know, in my life with whatever it is. So it begs the question, when we need to be better than other people, what is it that we're filling that we didn't get that is getting filled by that spotlight? I'm not sure. That could be a whole nother episode, but competition is healthy when it's directed to yourself to just strive to be the best that you can be, not because you have to be the best.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's an interesting topic if you even look nowadays at people who maybe post on social media and there's the competition who got the most like buttons, right? Where the amount of like buttons, the competition of it is even to a point where, well, people don't like, I'm not a likable person if I don't get 50 likes and my friend gets 50 likes. So, and that's exactly what you're talking about, Erika. It's this outward looking. Yeah. So any other last thoughts before we bring the episode to an end? Any summarize, other thought?
I mean, I'll just say it again. Healthy competition is, I think, important for forward progress. I don't think there's really anything wrong with it. And the main message is, is there anything that you can do a little better than how you did or performed or how you showed up yesterday? It's a personal progress, healthy competition. I'm okay. I'm all for healthy competition. I'm not looking to bang anybody's kneecaps out just to get, you know, a spotlight or anything like that. So
It's bizarre that still was 30 odd years later. I think it's the principle, isn't it, of iron sharpens iron, as we've all heard Kane say. And when we build on other people's successes, you know, as long as we're recognizing that we had an assistance, you know, even the best athletes have coaches who helped them reach that peak. And as long as the mindset is one of growth and it can be shared with others so that there's connection, then compete all day long. But let's just make sure that we are always looking back to see who we can offer a helping hand to.
Yeah. Brad, any last thoughts?
I don't know what the audience thinks on competition, right? And do you do it for yourself? Do you do it to your top of a group or for the recognition? And what is competition to you? Like, just curious what people that are watching this, what they feel and what they would say. Sticking with the whole wanting to know what you guys think. I want to know what you guys think. So I'm still questioning that piece. Want to hear more. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you very much for everyone listening in. And we see you in the next episode. Bye.